stories, where nightmares become to life and shadows appear in the corners.
Alex clocked in at 11:45 p.m., the fluorescent lights in the security office buzzing like they always did, casting long shadows across the cluttered desk. He nodded to Maria, the evening shift guard, who was already gathering her things. She was in her 50s, with lines etched deep around her eyes from too many nights like this. "Rough one tonight?" he asked, slinging his belt with the flashlight and radio over his shoulder. She paused, glancing at the monitors. "Just the usual. Follow the rules, Alex. Especially number 3. She didn't elaborate, just handed him the logbook and headed out, her footsteps echoing down the empty hall. Alex had been here 3 months, ever since the divorce drained his savings and left him crashing on his brother's couch. The hospital paid decent for nights, and the isolation suited him, reminded him of those long watches in the desert, back when he thought structure would fix everything. But St. Mary's wasn't a battlefield. It was a sprawling, aging building from the 60s, with wings added haphazardly over the years. The air always carried that faint antiseptic tang, mixed with something stale from the vents. He flipped open the logbook to the laminated page at the front. The rules. They weren't in the official handbook, no. Those were buried in some HR file. These were handwritten, passed down from guard to guard. Alex scanned them again, as he did every shift. Patrol all floors every hour, but skip the East Wing basement after 2 a.m. If the elevator stops on floor 4 without a call, don't get out. Ride it back down. Ignore any whispers over the radio that aren't prefixed with your code, Sierra Golf 7. Lock every door you open, even if you're coming right back. Never acknowledge patients who ask for the doctor who isn't here. There were more, but those stuck out. No one explained why. When he'd asked during training, the supervisor just shrugged. Tradition keeps things smooth. Alex figured it was hazing or superstition, but he followed them anyway. Habits die hard. He started his first round at midnight, boots squeaking on the linoleum as he moved through the lobby. The front desk nurse, Elena, waved from behind the glass. She was new, maybe 25, with a nervous energy that made her chatty. "Hey, Alex. Quiet so far. Mr. Harlan in 212 was complaining about noises again." "Noises?" He leaned on the counter, glancing at the visitor log, empty as usual. "Yeah, like scratching in the walls, probably rats, or his meds." She laughed, but it didn't reach her eyes. Alex noted it. Elena had mentioned her own bad breakup last week, crashing with friends. Made her jumpy. He nodded and headed for the stairs. Rule 6. Avoid elevators alone after midnight. The stairwell was dim, emergency lights casting a greenish hue. As he climbed to the second floor, his radio crackled. "Sierra Golf 7, check in." It was dispatch, the voice flat and routine. "All clear," he replied, pushing through the door to the med-surg ward. The halls were lined with rooms, most doors cracked open for monitoring. He walked slowly, peering in. An elderly woman asleep under blankets, IV beeping softly. A man staring at the ceiling, mumbling to himself. Alex kept moving, flashlight beam sweeping the floor ahead. At room 218 he paused. The door was ajar, light off inside. He knocked lightly. Security check. No answer. He pushed it open, hand on his radio. The bed was empty, sheets rumpled. A tray sat on the side table, food untouched. He stepped in, scanning, bathroom door closed. "Hello?" He knocked there too. Silence. Backing out, he locked the door behind him. Rule 4. Odd, but patients wandered sometimes. He'd radio it later. Continuing down the hall, he heard it. A faint tapping, like fingers on glass. He froze, listening. It came from the nurse's station ahead, empty at this hour. He approached, beam cutting through the dark. The station was clear, charts stacked neatly. The tapping stopped. Shaking it off, he turned toward the 3rd floor. The stairs again, his breath steady but louder in the echo. On 3, psych ward, the lights were brighter, as if to ward off shadows. He checked the locked doors, jiggling handles, all secure. But at the end of the hall, near the fire exit, a chair was out of place, pulled into the middle of the corridor. He moved it back against the wall, muscles tensing. No one should have been here. Staff rounds ended at 11. As he straightened, his radio hissed again. Static. Then a whisper. "Help! Down here." No prefix. Rule 3. He ignored it, clipping the radio back, but his hand lingered. It sounded like a woman, faint and desperate. He pressed on to floor 4, ICU. The beeps and ventilator hums filled the air, a mechanical chorus. He walked the loop, noting a new patient in 407, bandaged head, monitors flashing. The nurse on duty, Tom, looked up from his charts. Tom was burly ex-cop with a scar across his knuckles from some bar fight years back. "Alex, all good?" "Yeah, you hear anything on the radio?" Tom frowned. "Nah, why?" "Nothing." Alex didn't push. Tom had his own stories. Lost a partner on the force, took this job for the quiet. They exchanged nods and Alex continued. Back in the elevator. Wait, no, stairs. But as he reached the door, the elevator dinged behind him. Doors slid open. Empty car. No call light on. Rule 2. He stared, then turned away, taking the stairs down. On the first floor again, he circled back to the lobby. Elena was gone. Break time, probably. He sat at the desk, flipping through cameras on the monitor. Basement feed flickered, storage rooms dim. East wing looked clear. Then, movement on cam 12. A shadow shifting in the hall near room 218. He stood, grabbing his flashlight. Back up the stairs. Quicker now. The tapping started again as he reached the second floor, louder, from behind a door. He followed it to 218. The door he'd locked was cracked open again. Heart picking up, he pushed inside. Bed still empty. Bathroom door ajar now. He approached. Beam steady. Inside, the sink ran faintly, water circling the drain. On the mirror, smudged in what looked like soap. Follow the rules. He spun, radio out. Sierra Golf 7 to dispatch. The door to the room slammed shut. Locked from outside, he tried the handle. Stuck. Then from the vent above, a soft scratching began, growing closer. Alex gripped the door handle, twisting hard, but it didn't budge. The scratching in the vent above grew sharper, like nails dragging on metal, deliberate and slow. His flashlight beam darted to the ceiling, catching nothing but the slotted grate. He backed up, heart hammering, radio still in hand. Sierra Golf 7 to dispatch, he said, voice steady despite the sweat beading on his neck. Locked in 218, need assistance. Static answered, thick and unbroken. He tried again. Nothing. The scratching paused, then resumed. Closer now, as if whatever was up there had shifted. He scanned the room. Empty bed. Untouched tray. The faint drip of the sink. The soap-scrawled message on the mirror. Follow the rules. Stared back. He forced a breath, mind racing. The rules. He'd locked the door, hadn't he? Rule 4. Lock every door you open. He'd done that. So how was it open again when he returned? And now, locked with him inside. He rattled the handle again, shoulder pressing against the wood. No give. The scratching stopped abruptly. Silence pressed in, heavier than before. He clicked off the flashlight, letting his eyes adjust to the dim glow from the hall seeping under the door. Listening. A faint shuffle outside, like sneakers on linoleum. "Elena?" he called, hoping it was her. "Tom?" No answer. He crouched, peering under the door. The hall light flickered, casting jagged shadows. Something moved. A pair of feet, bare, pale, pausing just outside. Toes curled slightly, as if testing the floor. Then they shuffled away, fading down the corridor. Alex stood, pulse in his throat. He wasn't waiting. He grabbed the tray from the side table, metal clattering, and wedged it under the handle, prying. The door groaned but held. He cursed under his breath. Memories of tight spots overseas flashing. Pinned down, waiting for backup that never came. Not again. He turned to the bathroom, checking the vent. Too small for a person, but the scratching had come from there. He tapped the grate with his flashlight. It rattled loose. He froze, then reached up, pulling it free. Dust drifted down, catching in his throat. Inside, the duct was dark, empty as far as his beam reached, but the air felt wrong. Stale, with a hint of something sour, like old bandages. His radio crackled. Sierra Golf 7, status. Dispatch, finally. The voice was calm, oblivious. Locked in 218, Alex said, keeping his voice low. Door won't open. Something's off. Copy, sending Tom. Stay put. Stay put. Easy to say. He paced, eyes on the vent. The hospital felt alive tonight, its hums and creaks too deliberate, like it was watching. He'd laughed off the rules at first, but Maria's warning about Rule 3, ignore the whispers, gnawed at him. That voice on the radio earlier, no prefix. Help! Down here. He hadn't imagined it. A knock at the door. Alex? Tom's voice, gruff but tense. You in there? Yeah, Alex called, pulling the tray free. Door's stuck. A pause. It's not locked. Tom jiggled the handle from outside. It turned, but the door didn't open, like something was holding it. Hang on. A heavy thud. Tom's shoulder, probably. Another. The door shuddered, but stayed shut. Alex's gut twisted. Tom, stop. Check the hall. Someone was out there, barefoot. Barefoot? Tom's voice dropped. No one's here, man. Hall's empty. Check the cameras then. Cam 12 near 218. Saw movement. Tom muttered something. Then his footsteps faded. Alex waited, gripping the flashlight like a club. The room felt smaller now, walls closing in. The sink drip had stopped, but the mirror's message gleamed faintly. Soap smudged like a hurried warning. His radio buzzed again. Sierra Golf 7, Tom. Cameras are weird. Flickering on 12. Shadow moved, but no one's there. I'm coming back. Alex didn't respond. He was staring at the bathroom floor. A single wet footprint, small and bare, glistened near the sink. It hadn't been there before. He crouched, touching it. Cold. Fresh. His beam swept the room again. Nothing. No one. Another thud at the door. Alex, it's me. Tom's voice, but tighter now. Something's blocking this. Feels like weight on the other side. Alex's mouth went dry. Don't force it. Go around. Try the fire exit. No good. Exit's chained from the outside. Tom paused. That's not protocol. Alex's mind raced. Chained exits? That was a violation. A fire hazard. He thought of Elena, her nervous laugh, Mr. Harlan's complaints about scratching. The rules. Skip the East Wing basement after 2 a.m. It was 1:15 now. He glanced at the vent again, half expecting movement. Tom, get Elena, check the basement cams, but don't go down there. Why not? Just don't. Rule 1. He wasn't sure why, but the urgency in his gut was enough. Tom's footsteps retreated again. Alex sat on the bed, eyes locked on the door. The hospital's hum grew louder, a low thrum vibrating through the floor. He checked his watch. 1:20 a.m. 40 minutes until the basement rule kicked in. He didn't plan to be here that long. A soft tap came from the bathroom. Not the vent, lower like knuckles on tile. He stood, flashlight raised, and edged toward the door. The footprint was gone, floor dry now. But the mirror had changed. The soap message was smudged out, replaced with a single word. Listen. Then the radio hissed, no prefix, just that same whisper from before. Down here, it's waiting. Alex's hand tightened on the radio. He clicked it off, heart pounding. The tapping in the bathroom grew louder, rhythmic, like a code. And from the hall, a new sound. Slow, deliberate footsteps, bare feet slapping against the floor, coming closer. The footsteps in the hall stopped just outside the door, deliberate and heavy, each slap of bare feet against linoleum like a hammer on Alex's nerves. He stood frozen, flashlight aimed at the door, its beam trembling slightly in his grip. The tapping from the bathroom continued, syncopated now, like it was answering the steps outside. He didn't dare move toward either sound. The word on the mirror, listen, seemed to pulse in the dim light, a command he wasn't ready to obey. Sierra Golf 7 to dispatch, he whispered into the radio, voice barely above a breath. Tom, you out there? Static, then Tom's voice strained. Alex, I'm at the nurse's station. Cameras are still flickering. Elena's with me. She's freaking out. Said she saw someone on the second floor. No patient ID, just standing there. Standing where? Alex's eyes flicked to the door. The footsteps had stopped, but he swore he heard breathing. Shallow, uneven, just beyond the wood. Near 218, Tom said. Then they were gone. Cams didn't catch a face. Alex's stomach knotted. Tom, don't come back yet. Stay with Elena. Check the logs. See if anyone's unaccounted for. He didn't mention the footsteps. Didn't mention the mirror. Copy, Tom said. But there was a tremor in his voice. You okay in there? No, Alex said, honest for once. Door's still jammed. Get maintenance if you can. The radio went quiet. The tapping in the bathroom slowed, then stopped. Alex edged toward the door, listening. No breathing now, no footsteps. He pressed his ear to the wood. Nothing but the hospital's low hum, that ever-present thrum vibrating through the walls. He tested the handle again. Still stuck, but it felt looser, like whatever held it was giving way. He glanced at his watch. 1:35 a.m. 25 minutes until the East Wing basement rule kicked in. He didn't know why it mattered, but the thought of being trapped here past 2 a.m. made his skin crawl. He thought of Maria's face when she mentioned Rule 3, the way her eyes darted to the monitors. She'd seen something once, hadn't she? Never said what. He turned back to the bathroom, drawn by the silence. The mirror's new message hadn't changed, but the air felt heavier, like the room was holding its breath. He stepped inside, flashlight sweeping the tiles. No more footprints, but the sink was wet again, a thin pool of water spreading across the counter. He hadn't touched it. A faint creak came from the vent above. Not scratching this time. Something heavier, like weight shifting in the duct. He backed up, beam locked on the grate. It was still loose from when he'd pulled it off. He grabbed the tray from the bed again, ready to swing if needed. "Who's there?" he called, voice sharper than he meant. No answer. But the creak came again, followed by a soft thud, like something dropping into the duct further down. He pictured the hospital's layout, vents snaking through the walls, connecting floors, leading to the basement. The East Wing basement. His radio crackled. "Sierra Golf 7, Tom. Maintenance is off-site until 6 a.m. Logs show no missing patients, but Elena says Mr. Harlan's gone quiet. No more complaints about noises." Alex's grip tightened. "Check his room. 212. Now." "On it." Tom's voice faded into footsteps over the radio. Alex moved back to the door, banging on it with the flashlight. "Hey, anyone out there?" Silence. He leaned his shoulder into it, pushing hard. The door groaned, then popped open an inch, enough to see the hall. Empty. No feet, no shadows. He shoved harder and it gave way, swinging wide. He stumbled into the corridor, flashlight sweeping both directions. The air was colder out here, the hospital's hum louder, like a pulse in the walls. He locked the door behind him, Rule 4, though his hands shook doing it. The hall was too quiet, the kind of quiet that felt like it was waiting for something to break it. He started toward the nurse's station, boots echoing. Halfway there, he heard it again, tapping, faint but insistent, coming from the walls this time. Not one spot, but moving, like something crawling through the pipes or ducts, keeping pace with him. He stopped, and the tapping stopped. He took a step, and it started again, a faint echo to his left. He reached the station, finding it empty. Charts were scattered, a coffee mug tipped over, spilling across a clipboard. Elena's jacket hung on the chair. But no Elena, no Tom. He checked the monitors. Cam 12 was black now, not flickering. Just gone. Cam 11 showed the hall outside 212, Mr. Harlan's room. The door was open. "Sierra Golf 7 to Tom," he said into the radio. "Where are you?" Static. Then faintly, no prefix. "It's waiting. Down here." The same whisper, clearer now, almost pleading. Alex's breath caught. Rule 3. He clicked the radio off, but the whisper seemed to linger, like it hadn't come from the speaker at all. He grabbed the visitor log from the desk, flipping through. Nothing unusual, just staff check-ins. But a note in Maria's handwriting caught his eye, scrawled at the bottom. "Checked East Wing basement, 1 a.m. last shift. Lights off. Locked." She'd broken Rule 1. Why? He headed for 212, flashlight steady now, though his pulse wasn't. The tapping in the walls followed, erratic, sometimes ahead, sometimes behind. At 212, the door hung open. Bed empty. No Mr. Harlan. But on the wall above the bed, scratched into the paint as if with a nail, "Don't go down." His radio buzzed, Tom's voice cutting through. "Alex, Harlan's gone. Bed's empty, windows locked. Elena's checking the stairwell. Where are you?" 212, Alex said, eyes on the scratches. "Get to the lobby, now." He turned to leave, but the tapping surged, loud and frantic, coming from below the floor now. The hospital's hum rose with it, vibrating through his boots. He glanced at his watch. 1:50 a.m. Then, from the stairwell at the end of the hall, a scream, Elena's, sharp and cut off. The tapping stopped. The lights flickered, and a low, wet gurgle echoed from the stairwell, like something dragging itself up. The gurgle from the stairwell lingered in Alex's ears, wet and guttural like someone choking on their own breath. Elena's scream had cut off too abruptly, leaving the hospital's hum to fill the void, louder now, thrumming through the floor like a heartbeat. His flashlight beam sliced toward the stairwell door, catching the faint flicker of the emergency light above it. He gripped his radio, thumb hovering over the call button, but hesitated. Rule 3. Ignore the whispers. What about screams? Sierra Golf 7 to Tom, he said, voice low, eyes locked on the stairwell. Elena screamed, "Stairwell, second floor, you hear that?" Static hissed, then Tom's voice, breathless. "Yeah, I heard it. I'm in the lobby. Elena didn't make it down here. Where are you?" 212, Alex said, stepping toward the stairwell, boots deliberate on the linoleum. "Stay there, I'm checking it out." "Don't," Tom snapped. "Wait for me. Something's wrong, Alex. The lobby cams, half are out now, not just flickering. Black." Alex paused, hand on the stairwell door. The gurgling had stopped, but the silence felt worse, like the hospital was holding its breath again. He thought of the scratched message in 212. "Don't go down." And Maria's note about the basement. His watch read 1:55 a.m., 5 minutes until Rule 1's cutoff. He didn't want to know why the East Wing basement was off limits after 2 a.m., but Elena's scream pulled him forward. "Tom, get to the stairwell. Bring a crowbar or something. Now!" He didn't wait for a reply, pushing the door open. The stairwell was dim, the greenish emergency lights casting long shadows on the concrete walls. The air was colder here, heavy with that sour bandage smell from the vent in 218. He descended slowly, flashlight sweeping each step. The beam caught something wet on the railing, a smear of something dark, glistening. He leaned closer, heart kicking. Not blood, thicker, like mucus or spit. He didn't touch it. "Elena!" he called, voice echoing. No answer. Just the hum, louder here, vibrating through the walls like a machine waking up. He reached the landing between the second and first floors, where the stairs split, down to the lobby, or further down to the basement. The smear trailed downward, toward the lower door. He hesitated, Rule 1 screaming in his head. But then he heard it, a faint whimper, barely audible from below. Elena? He gripped the flashlight tighter, its weight a small comfort, and started down. The steps creaked under his boots, each one amplifying the hum until it felt like it was coming from inside his skull. At the basement door, he stopped. The smear ended here, pooling at the threshold like it had been wiped off something. He tested the handle, locked, but the keycard reader blinked green. He swiped his card, the lock clicking open. Against every instinct, he pushed through. The basement was a maze of concrete corridors, lit by flickering fluorescents that buzzed like dying insects. Storage rooms lined the walls, their doors rusted and labeled with faded signs. Medical records, maintenance, morgue. But the hum was deafening now, pulsing in time with his steps. He moved forward, beam cutting through the gloom, calling softly, "Elena, you hear?" A clatter echoed from deeper in like metal hitting the floor. He froze, listening. It came again, sharper, from the direction of the morgue. He forced himself to move, passing locked doors, checking each handle. Rule 4, always lock behind you. But the morgue door was ajar, a sliver of darkness leaking out. He nudged it open, flashlight sweeping inside. Steel tables gleamed under the light, empty. Drawers lined the far wall, all closed. The clatter came again, from behind one of them. He stepped closer, breath shallow, and tapped a drawer with his flashlight. "Elena?" The drawer rattled, a slow, deliberate shake. He grabbed the handle, yanking it open. Empty. But the clatter came again, from the next drawer. He opened it. Nothing. Then the next. All empty. The sound moved, now from the ceiling, that same scratching from 218, skittering above him. He spun, beam catching the vent overhead. It was bolted shut, but something moved behind it, a shadow, quick and formless. His radio crackled. "Alex, it's Tom. I'm at the stairwell. Where the hell are you?" "Basement," Alex said, eyes on the vent. "Morgue. Get down here." "You're in the basement?" Tom's voice spiked. "It's past 2 a.m., man. Rule 1... "I know," Alex cut him off. "Just move." The scratching stopped. He backed toward the door, beam still on the vent. The hum shifted, lower now, like a growl. He reached the corridor, locking the morgue door behind him. The air felt thicker, pressing against his chest. He started back toward the stairwell, but a new sound stopped him. A soft, wet slap, like bare feet on concrete, coming from the east wing. He turned, flashlight catching the end of the corridor. Nothing. But the slapping grew louder, closer around the corner. He edged forward, Rule 1 screaming in his mind, but Elena's scream was louder. He rounded the corner. A figure stood at the far end, back to him, barefoot, hospital gown hanging loose. Small, maybe a woman. "Elena?" he called. The figure didn't move. Then, slowly, it turned, not its head, but its whole body, stiff and unnatural. The face was wrong, pale, eyes too wide, mouth open in a silent scream. It wasn't Elena. It wasn't anyone he knew. The figure took a step, then another, each slap echoing. Alex backed up, radio shaking in his hand. "Tom, East Wing basement, now!" No answer. The figure stopped, head tilting like it was listening. Then it whispered, voice carrying impossibly clear, "You didn't lock it." Alex's blood went cold. He spun, sprinting back toward the morgue. The door he'd locked was wide open, darkness spilling out. The slapping footsteps followed, faster now, and from the open morgue door came a low, wet laugh. The wet laugh from the morgue door slithered through the basement corridor, curling around Alex like damp air. His flashlight beam stabbed into the open doorway, catching nothing but the glint of steel tables. The slapping footsteps behind him, bare feet on concrete, grew louder, closer, matching the frantic thud of his pulse. He didn't look back. The figure's whisper, "You didn't lock it," echoed in his head, accusing. He'd locked the morgue door. He was sure of it, Rule 4, but the door gaped wide, mocking him. He skidded to a stop at the threshold, shoulder slamming against the frame. The morgue was darker now, the fluorescence flickering like a dying pulse. The hum of the hospital was a roar here, vibrating through his boots, his bones. He swung the flashlight, searching for the figure, but the corridor behind him was empty. The footsteps had stopped. Too quiet. "Tom!" he barked into the radio. "East Wing basement morgue. Where are you?" Static. Then a garbled reply. "Alex. Stairwell. Something's..." Tom's voice cut off, swallowed by a wet gurgle like the one from the stairwell earlier. Alex's grip tightened, knuckles white. He backed into the morgue, slamming the door shut and twisting the lock. It clicked, but he didn't trust it, not anymore. The room was colder than before, the air thick with that sour, bandage-like stench. He swept the beam across the tables, the drawers, the vent. Nothing moved, but the hum felt alive, pressing against his eardrums. He checked his watch. 2:05 a.m. Past the cutoff for Rule 1. He shouldn't be here. No one should. A soft thud came from one of the drawers. Not the clatter from before, something heavier, like a body shifting. He froze, beam locked on the middle drawer. It rattled just once, then stopped. He stepped closer, flashlight raised like a weapon. "Elena?" he whispered, half hoping, half dreading. No answer. But the drawer rattled again. Harder, the handle jittering. He grabbed it, yanking it open. Empty, just like before. He slammed it shut, the clang echoing. Another drawer rattled, then another. A chorus of metal shaking in sequence, like something was moving between them. He spun, beam darting, but the room stayed empty. The radio crackled. No prefix, just that whisper again. "It's here." Clearer now, almost in his ear. He ripped the radio off his belt, hurling it to the floor. It skidded under a table, still hissing. Rule 3. He'd broken it by listening, hadn't he? The lights flickered, plunging the room into darkness for a heartbeat. When they buzzed back on, the morgue door was open again. Not wide, just a crack, enough to show the corridor beyond. He hadn't heard it unlock. He lunged for it, slamming it shut, twisting the lock again. His hands shook as he backed away, beams sweeping the room. The drawers were still now, but the hum had changed. Lower, jagged, like laughter buried in static. He grabbed a steel tray from a table, wedging it against the door handle. It wouldn't hold long, but it was something. He needed to move. Find Elena. Find Tom. Get out. The stairwell was his only shot, but the thought of that gurgle, that figure in the gown, kept his feet rooted. A soft scrape came from the vent above, the same one he'd checked earlier. His beam snapped to it. The bolts were still in place, but something moved behind the grate. A flicker, like eyes catching the light. He climbed onto a table, flashlight clenched in one hand, tray in the other. He tapped the grate. It held firm, but the scrape came again, retreating deeper into the duct. He jumped down, heart racing. The ducts connected to the east wing, maybe the whole hospital. Whatever was in there could be anywhere. He thought of Mr. Harlan's scratches. Don't go down. And Maria's note about the basement. Had she seen that figure? Heard the whispers? The tray rattled against the door. Not a push. Something pulling, slow and deliberate. He gripped the flashlight tighter, backing toward the far wall. The drawers rattled again, all at once, a violent shudder that shook the room. Then silence. He didn't wait. He grabbed the tray from the door, ready to run, but the handle turned before he could touch it. The door swung inward, slow, revealing the corridor. Empty. No footsteps, no figure. Just the hum, louder now, like a warning. He stepped into the hall, locking the door behind him. Rule 4, always. The corridor stretched both ways, dim and endless. The smear from the stairwell was back, trailing toward the east wing. He followed it, against every instinct, because Elena's scream had come from this direction. Because Tom wasn't answering. The smear led to a door labeled storage. Locked, but the keycard reader blinked green. He swiped, the lock clicking. Inside, shelves loomed, stacked with boxes, old equipment and files. The hum was deafening here, vibrating the shelves. His beam caught something in the corner. A hospital gown, crumpled on the floor, stained with that same dark, mucus-like substance. He approached, crouching. The gown was small, like the figures. No blood, but the stains were fresh, wet. He stood, beams sweeping upward. A shadow shifted behind a shelf, quick and low. "Elena," he called, voice cracking. A soft laugh answered, not from the shelf, from behind him. He spun, beam catching the door. It was open again. He'd locked it. He knew he had. The laugh came again, closer from the shadows between the shelves. His flashlight flickered, the beam stuttering. He backed toward the door, but the hum surged, and the shelves rattled, boxes sliding, crashing to the floor. Something moved in the dark, not a figure, smaller, scuttling, like hands crawling across the concrete. He sprinted for the door, slamming it shut, keycard beeping as he locked it. The corridor was empty, but the smear trailed further, toward a final door at the end of the east wing. Unlabeled, no reader, just a heavy padlock. The hum pulsed strongest here, shaking the walls. His radio hissed, no prefix. "You can't lock it out." The padlock clicked, falling open. The door creaked inward, revealing a dark stairwell descending deeper, where the hum became a scream, and something waited, breathing in the dark. Well, I hope you got the scare you're looking for. See you next time.